Hey guys, so this is the very first of the virtual learning that we're doing. And like I had said in the email, we're going back to the basics this week, right? So 5 themes of geography, reading maps. Very basic stuff before we start getting more in depth into the culture of Latin America, South America, mythology, animals, all that stuff you guys wanted more information about. We're going to get it to you. But in order to do that, we need to make sure that you understand your basics. All right, so for today, it is the 5 themes of geography. We've gone over it before, it's going to sound repetitive, that's okay. All right, so if you look at the notes over here, right, so there are main questions that geographers are going to ask, right? It's about how people and places, environments, how we're all interconnected with one another and how that all works. All right, so there's 5 themes, 6 elements. This helps us categorize or group this information together so we can better understand it. All right, so let's get started with the 5 themes. So the first one we're going to talk about is location, right? Just like with realtors, location, location, location. All right, so this is a way to locate the places, understand where they are. All right, so the first way we're going to do that is absolute location. This is the exact point where a place is located. You use that using your coordinates. We're going to go more into that in the next lesson. All right, so you use a satellite system called Global Positioning System, or GPS, right? This is the exact location. You're looking at the longitude and the latitude coming together. The next way that we use location is relative location, right? Relative location. This is how a place is located in relation to other places. Great Wall of China, it's located near Beijing in northern China, right? We're relatively talking about things, sort of talking about it, where it sort of is located. So Virginia is on the east coast of the United States. That's a relative location. That's not an exact point. Next thing that we're going to talk about when we have the 5 themes is place. All right, so this includes the characteristics of a location. We're talking about a place. What are some things that we think of? So when we think of the United States of America, one of the big images is the Grand Canyon, right? It's the steep rock walls the Colorado River is carved through. That's one of the main things that we think about. We might think about the Washington Monument, for example, or Broadway in New York City, right? So these characteristics of a location. When we think about, for example, Egypt, we think of the Great Pyramids, or China, the Great Wall of China. So that third one is human environment interaction. How do we interact with our environment? What do we do to the environment, and how does the environment impact us? In Africa, with how hot it is and how dry it is and all the droughts that are happening, that's the way the environment is impacting those people and creating the water crisis we talked about. Right? So the way that we might impact the environment would be, for example, in ancient Egypt, how they built all those different dams, and we talked about the big Nile River Dam, and that's what they used to control the flooding so you get more crops. So how we interact with the environment. All right, that fourth one is movement. It explains the movement of people, ideas, animals. It doesn't have to just be migration and talking about people going from one location to another. It can be a religion spreading, right? The spread of Buddhism, the spread of Christianity, things that we've talked about. It can also be the spread of animals, the migration of different animals. Birds migrate, birds move, and maybe that might explain how people interact with one another. Or with the Native Americans, the movement of the bison, the buffaloes, and how they followed them so they would have an animal to eat. And that last theme is region. All right, so this involves a group of places that have common characteristics. North America is a region, right? So that's the United States, Canada, and Mexico that we're talking about there. We all have things in common, similar types of governments, similar cultures and ideas. When you live in a general location with one another, you might see similar physical features, which might mean similar food sources, similar ways of interacting with the environment. The spread of a religion or the spread of any kind of idea is easier when you live near each other. So, just to reiterate, those 5 themes: location, 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 place, human environment interaction, movement, and a region. So from there, we move on to the 6 essential elements. All right, so when you're looking and you're studying a culture or a place, you're looking at 6 different ideas or elements that are going to help you understand a human system or the physical process that's happening there. So the first one, the world in spatial terms. So that's where we're looking at maps spatially. How close are we to certain physical features? Are we super close to a volcano? Are we close to a fault line where we get a lot of earthquakes? Or are we physically close to another country that might influence each other? The second one, places and regions. Examine the characteristics of places and regions. So we talked about place and region. What are some characteristics of that place or of this region of the world? What are some characteristics of North America? Democracy is a big one. All right, we all have that similar type of government system. Physical systems is the third one. So the physical processes of the earth, like volcanoes and earthquakes, tsunamis, monsoons, all the different things that we talked about. If you live close to a fault line and there are a lot of earthquakes, houses are built in a certain way. So in California, a house is built a certain way so it can withstand earthquakes because they get a lot of earthquakes there. All right, so the fourth one, human systems. How geographers study how humans live and what systems they create, like economic systems. Humans have different types of systems for things. We have a system, right? When we're in our classroom, you would get in, you would do your warm-up, CNN 10, notes and PowerPoints activity. We had a system in place. There are government systems, there are economic systems. In the United States, we use a capitalist system. That's one type of economic system. Different governments, just different views of how we see women or men. There might be an environmental system, a sports system, stuff that impacts them culturally. 5, environment and society. How humans change the environment and our resources. Over time, we've had a large impact of the environment. When that happens, different things happen to the environment, right? So we use all of our resources. We use all of our fossil fuels. What do? We have to come up with new ways to be able to power our cars. We have to come up with new ways to have electricity. When we impact the environment changes and we change our interactions with it. So studying the environment and how it impacts a society is crucial. We talked about the dams, but one of the big things is that people always settle near rivers. You're going to learn about that in world history. In the Indus River Valley, you get a lot of that Babylonian Empire. People go and they settle in rivers. They use the rivers, and you end up getting a lot of impacts, whether it be pollution or when we talked about the Aral Sea with Russia and how it kept getting smaller and smaller. That starts impacting how people can use the environment around them. And then that 6th one, the uses of geography. All right, so geographers, cultural anthropologists, sociologists, all of them, they interpret the past. You learn about your past, then you analyze what is currently happening. That way you can plan for the future. All right, so right now we are in a pandemic, right? There is a giant spread of some kind of disease that really heavily impacts the elderly and people with conditions like asthma, right? So how are we planning for the future? Well, currently, right now, we're trying out new things. We're doing the virtual learning. We're doing quarantining, all types of things until we get that vaccine, right? So what we're doing is we're analyzing the present and we're coming up with a plan for the future. We're looking at what happened in the past, what we did in the past, what we're doing now. That way we can be better prepared in the future. Alrighty, so just like before, I have words to know. Just so you guys can kind of be able to sort through the information a little bit better. So we have categorized, global positioning system, GPS, absolute location, and relative location. And then I also highlighted those words in the notes, as you can see up here. So that's pretty much it for today, going over and understanding what we're kind of looking at when we talk about world geography and world culture. When you go to the next video, it's about maps and labeling maps and understanding you can read a map. At the end of that video, I will explain a little bit about what the activity I have for you this week, which is mental mapping, creating your own map and directions. From there, you can go ahead and do that. You can turn it into me and I can give you guys feedback. This is all highly encouraged, and please make sure you're watching those 10 minutes of news a day. I'm trying to keep things nice and short and brief because I know that this is a really stressful time. You might be looking after siblings. Who knows what's going on? Just know you can always reach out to me. And remember, I love you guys. Bye.